The moment you stop needing something shifts inside you in a way that cannot be undone. It does not feel dramatic. It does not announce itself. It feels like pressure leaving the body. Your attention stops leaning forward. It stops reaching into the future. It settles back into now. And that settling is not emotional. It is structural. It is the exact moment attraction begins. Most people believe attraction starts when desire becomes strong enough, when focus becomes sharp, when effort becomes consistent. But effort is not what reality responds to. Stability is. Attraction begins when desire no longer destabilizes you. Needing and wanting are not the same. Wanting is clean. It moves without tension. Needing is charged. Needing is when your nervous system believes relief exists somewhere ahead of you in time. That belief creates a gap between who you are now and who you think you will be once the outcome arrives. And reality mirrors that gap perfectly. Not to punish you, not to test you, but to stay aligned with your internal state. When you feel unfinished, reality reflects waiting. When you feel incomplete, reality stretches time. When you believe peace comes later, later becomes the pattern. This is why the more you care about timing, the slower everything feels. The body enters anticipation. Breathing shortens. Attention scans. The system waits. Waiting anchors consciousness to a future moment that does not exist yet. And when consciousness lives there, the present cannot collapse into form. You expect peace to arrive after the outcome. You expect calm to follow evidence. You expect certainty to appear once things finally work out. But the sequence is reversed. Peace allows the outcome. Calm creates the evidence. Certainty appears once it is embodied. Reality does not organize from the future backward. It organizes from the inside out. From a quantum perspective, nothing is pulled toward you. Everything synchronizes with you. Synchronization only happens when your internal frequency is stable. Needing creates oscillation. Hope rises. Doubt follows. Relief appears briefly, then disappears. That oscillation prevents alignment. When oscillation stops, alignment becomes immediate, not loud, not intense, immediate. This is why manifestation feels slow when you are emotionally invested in when. Emotional urgency activates stress circuits. Cortisol rises. Perception narrows. The body prepares. And preparation is not readiness. Preparation is bracing. A braced system cannot receive. It can only wait. Attraction begins the moment the body feels safe without arrival. This safety is not indifference. It is completeness. A quiet sense that nothing essential is missing right now. When the nervous system registers completeness, the signal becomes clean. Thought stops pulling forward. Emotion stops gripping outcomes. Identity stops positioning itself before fulfillment. Coherence stabilizes. And coherence collapses probability faster than effort ever could. This is why breakthroughs often happen right after you stopped trying. You did not abandon desire. You abandoned waiting. You stopped scanning reality for proof. You stopped asking when. That internal stillness removes interference. The universe does not respond to wanting. It responds to resolution. Resolution appears when the need for an outcome dissolves. Attraction does not feel like pulling. It feels like allowing. Allowing is not passive. It is movement without emotional charge, action without pressure, presence without collapse. You do not attract what you think about most. You attract what your nervous system treats as normal. Normality is the deepest signal of all. And the moment need drops, normal changes. That is when attraction begins. To understand why needing delays attraction, you have to understand how the nervous system communicates with reality. The field does not respond to words. It does not respond to affirmations. It does not respond to intention in isolation. It responds to the state your body is broadcasting consistently. Needing is registered by the nervous system as instability. Even when the mind sounds hopeful, the body remains slightly contracted. Breathing stays shallow. Attention keeps scanning. There is an underlying sense that something essential is missing. That missing becomes the dominant signal, and reality mirrors that signal precisely, not as punishment, not as resistance, but as coherence. A system that is broadcasting lack will experience delay, inconsistency, or partial outcomes, not because the universe is withholding, but because alignment has not stabilized. Coherence means the mind, body, and identity are saying the same thing. Need fractures that signal. One part says, I trust. Another part says, I am not safe until this happens. The field responds to the louder signal, and the louder signal is always the body. From a neurological perspective, this is simple. Need keeps the brain in prediction mode. The mind rehearses futures. It simulates conversations. It checks timelines. It imagines relief later. Prediction locks awareness into what is not here yet, and what is not here cannot collapse into form. Attraction begins when prediction quiets, when the nervous system exits anticipation and enters regulation. Regulation widens perception. Instead of searching for outcomes, you begin noticing openings. Instead of waiting for permission, you respond naturally to what is already present. This regulated state feels almost underwhelming. There is no spike of excitement, no rush of certainty, just a grounded sense of being okay now. And that okay now is the exact condition required for reality to respond cleanly. Quantum manifestation does not operate on intensity. It operates on stability. This is why people say things started working when they stopped caring. But that interpretation is incomplete. They did not stop caring about the outcome. They stopped using the outcome to regulate themselves. They stopped depending on the future to settle the present. When that dependency dissolves, attraction accelerates. Another shift happens here. Identity stops being future-based. When you need something, your identity lives before fulfillment. You see yourself as unfinished. You feel like you are becoming someone later. When need dissolves, identity collapses into now. You inhabit yourself fully. Identity is the strongest attractor in the field. When identity stabilizes, reality organizes around it rapidly. There is no internal contradiction left to resolve. No signal saying, I am whole, competing with another saying, I will be whole once this happens. That internal agreement creates ease, and ease speeds everything up. This is also why silence becomes natural during this phase. You stop explaining what you are doing. You stop announcing intentions. Explanation disperses energy. Silence consolidates it, and consolidated energy moves fast. The universe does not respond to urgency. It responds to containment. Containment means your energy is no longer leaking into worry, anticipation, or monitoring. When energy stays contained, it intensifies without force, and intensity without force is magnetic. Attraction is not something you perform. It is something that activates when the system stops contradicting itself. Needing is not wrong. It is a signal that the body does not yet feel safe without arrival. And once that safety is embodied, needing dissolves on its own. That is when attraction becomes automatic. At this stage, the mind often tries to take control again. It turns letting go into another task. It watches emotions. It corrects thoughts. It tries to release attachment on purpose. But forced release is still effort, and effort keeps the system engaged in control. True release is not something you do. It is something that happens when the nervous system no longer feels threatened by uncertainty. As long as uncertainty feels unsafe, the body will cling to outcomes. It will plan, it will hope, it will rehearse, not because you lack trust, but because the system is protecting itself. Attraction cannot begin from protection mode. Protection creates contraction. Contraction breaks coherence, and without coherence, reality cannot synchronize cleanly. This is why many people say they let go, but nothing changed. In most cases, the mind relaxed while the body stayed tense, and the field listens to the body first. The nervous system does not change through intention. It changes through experience, specifically repeated experiences when nothing bad happens, when answers are delayed, when silence appears, when nothing resolves immediately. These moments look ordinary. Nothing shifts outside, but inside something softens. You stop checking. You stop rehearsing. You stop scanning for signs. .com becomes available without conditions. That is the moment need dissolves, and attraction activates. Attraction is not a pull, it is a resonance. When your internal state stabilizes, reality synchronizes with it. Things line up, not because you demanded them, but because nothing inside you is pushing them away. Another shift happens here. Desire becomes clean. It no longer feels heavy or urgent. It feels like preference, not requirement. And preferences do not distort the signal. Action becomes clean as well. You act because it makes sense, not because you are trying to close a gap. Action without emotional charge does not generate friction, and without friction, time collapses. This is where manifestation stops feeling random. Outcomes no longer arrive in bursts followed by delays. They arrive quietly, consistently, predictably. You stop feeling like something is about to happen. You stop feeling on the verge. You feel present, grounded, slightly indifferent to timing, and that indifference is alignment holding. Needing always feels like anticipation. Attraction feels like availability. Availability means your attention is no longer pulled toward future relief. You are engaged with what is in front of you. This is where people often pull themselves back into need. They do not trust the quiet. They mistake calm for stagnation. They start checking again. The system re-enters prediction mode. Distance returns. Patience is not waiting calmly. Patience is the absence of waiting altogether. It is living without postponement. When you live without postponement, reality does not postpone you. Attraction does not require confidence. It does not require certainty. It requires stability. You can feel unsure and still be aligned. What matters is not the absence of questions, but the absence of internal collapse. When uncertainty no longer destabilizes you, attraction can operate freely. At this point, attraction does not feel exciting. It feels normal, and normal is where reality responds fastest. You were never meant to chase. You were meant to stop interrupting. The moment you stop needing, you do not lose power. You finally activate it. When attraction has truly activated, the most important shift is not external. It is internal recognition. You are no longer asking if it is working. You are no longer measuring signs. You are no longer scanning the future for reassurance. Not because you are disciplined, but because nothing inside you is pulling you there anymore. Attraction does not announce itself with excitement. It announces itself with normality. Life feels steady, grounded, quiet. And this is where many people make a mistake. They confuse calm with stagnation. They think nothing is happening because nothing feels urgent. And the moment they start checking again, the system slips back into prediction. Prediction recreates distance. This is why patience is misunderstood. Patience is not waiting calmly. Patience is the absence of waiting altogether. It is living fully now without postponement. When you live without postponement, reality stops postponing you. Another sign attraction is active is how you relate to uncertainty. When you were needing, uncertainty created anxiety. Now, uncertainty feels open, neutral. You do not rush to close it. You allow it to unfold. That allowance keeps the signal clean. From a quantum perspective, collapse happens most efficiently when the observer is stable and non-reactive. Reactivity keeps probabilities oscillating. Stability allows one trajectory to solidify. This is also where subtle self-sabotage can appear. You try to use the state. You try to leverage alignment to get more faster. But leverage reintroduces control. Control brings tension. Tension revives need. The answer is not discipline. It is familiarity. The more familiar this state becomes, the less you feel the urge to interfere. You do not try to breathe when breathing feels natural. You do not try to balance when standing feels stable. In the same way, you stop trying to use attraction when alignment feels ordinary. Ordinary is stability. At this stage, action still happens. You do not become passive, but action carries no emotional weight. It does not feel like a gamble. It feels like expression. Expression does not create pressure. Pressure slows things down. Identity also loosens its grip on outcomes. Success does not inflate you. Delays do not deflate you. Both are processed without collapse. And a system that does not collapse internally does not create collapse externally. Continuity replaces spikes. Reality responds more consistently, not more dramatically. Alignment deepens instead of flashing. This is where attraction stops being something you think about. It becomes how life moves around you. You are no longer pulling reality forward. You are no longer standing in the doorway. You are already inside.